Maestro Jerome Hines and Pavarotti and all the great Corelli, for example, they're admitting that appoggio is the superior technique for, they're talking about opera definitely, it's a superior technique and it's the most advanced technique they can have because it provides you with the most balanced voice. And of course, I mean, when you're talking about heavy weight lifting, and which is opera, you need to control that voice in much more precise movement than you do it in less athletic singing. And the appoggio technique requires, sometimes called a technique of paradox, because instead of pushing in, which we all learn, the first how to support with weight, it actually has not only sensation, but the fact that you're actually pushing down and around. Jerome Hines and other singers, they warn about too much use of it. To finish this, let me read a couple of quotes. Birgit Nilsson. I feel the higher the note goes, the lower the support. Domingo, everybody knows Domingo, right? If a note is properly supported when you're singing, somebody might even be able to hit you in the stomach area and the note is still there. So it means how tough this is. It's athletic, basically.
But again, it's stretchy, it's not...
Yeah, it's stretchy. That would only happen to operatic singers, because if you sing jazz or lighter music...
Watch out there, getting it.
I support just the same.
I'm talking because I sing jazz too, and I use different technique. And I know that when I use you, my everything, it affects you. You, my everything. It doesn't affect you. This is the proof.
It's a different resonance, though.
It's a different resonance, yes. It's different resonance. The final word is, I'm not attacking jazz musician. I love jazz music no less than I love classical music. What I'm saying is that when you're talking about powerful sound, it's simply needed to be managed. Much more precise movement, then you talk about lighter sound.
A sound that has to project without loudspeakers in a hall that sits 3,000 people, for example. Okay, then the power you get is intrinsic, it's inside the body, and it's not in the mic.
Absolutely,
so you cannot use the mic to cover part of,
No, yeah, and it's even different with a different type of classical singing. I mean, we don't put everything in classical singers. Like you young singers, you learn certain things here to support a certain way. And the most important thing is that you sing beautifully. Your teacher would not interfere if you sing it beautifully. He wouldn't say support your voice. This notion comes only when something is wrong, right? So that is when you learn this and you learn your repertoire, and whether you become a concert singer or you become an opera singer, or whatever you want to become, then you will have other challenges. This is not like you just simply switch to opera. You need to learn a technique appropriate, a breathing, a support technique, appropriate to the sound you're producing. So if you produce the sound that is good for microphone, I'm not saying you don't need projection, of course. I mean, not everybody is the same.
Yeah, it depends. I mean,
it depends,
the appoggio still has to be there no matter what. You can get away with not having it sometimes because you have a microphone. But a healthy sound, you're going to have a lasting career and a lasting voice, and more colors to your voice, and be able to do multiple different styles and all sorts of things if you have a healthy technique, which is the same. You get into different resonator shapes. That's definitely different between styles.
Yeah.
You get into more anchoring with belting, more appoggio almost, because you're using the TA muscles in the vocal folds, the heavier vocal folds, the shorter, thicker vocal folds, higher than you would in classical music. So your instrument is changing, but the appoggio stays the same, I think.
Appoggio, as it is, as a movement, could stay. But the sensation change and the power they use with appoggio is different.
What do you have to give a young beginner student about breathing? Just in a few words.
I read about a Russian composer and a teacher named Glinka. You probably not know, he is not as famous as Tchaikovsky. But yeah, you know Glinka. He was a singer himself, so he comes from Italian school. And he said that he was not pleased with today's ways of teaching. I mean, we are always not satisfied. Today we can complain about this, and they complained in the 17th century even about this. But he says that the most important thing in development of a singer is that when absolutely young singer comes to me, and what we do first is discover his natural resonance, which is a natural register. And sometimes it's not that easy, because sometimes people do not have the same speaking voices as the singing voices. So you try to get them where the voice sounds at best. And that could be less than 1 octave. Actually, it's less than 1 octave. And then the Glinka, he suggested that you have to develop natural voice as much as you can. Before you have to master this natural voice, and only then later go and expand the register. Unfortunately, it's the Glinka's word. Today's schools and masters, they want everybody to sing right away in 3 years and to be prepared for the stage in 6 years. And so they are challenged by very unnatural challenges, like expanding the register. And they still, you know, there are techniques that allow you to, let's say, how to sing high C, for example, very popular on YouTube. And but all I heard, it was screaming. You know, it's like we cannot really separate support from.
Naturally, it takes time.
It takes time. The only thing that I would suggest we start to realize that we're using support and appoggio, right? We create tension, and we feel this tension at the beginning, but it's gonna get gone, and when these muscles, it will disappear over time. But along with this tension, that creates tension in the jaw and in the tongue because of the parallel. So like when you do some heavy work, suddenly your jaw gets, or whatever other muscles get, so they don't need to, but it's the movement that happens. So when, let's say, you're using unnatural support, which you're learning, and it requires more physical strength, it might cause tension in a jaw. And so you end up, like, you want to use support because you want to really get a free sound, but at the same time you tense your jaw. So in this case, I would recommend an exercise separate from singing, is that tensing in a movement of appoggio, of a breath support movement, and just standing and looking in the mirror and relaxing your jaw at the same time. What it makes it in your mind, it separates, after a couple of maybe weeks of doing this, it separates the tension in this area from the tension in your mouth. So when you approach support, it's a lot easier to relax when you're actually working hard here.
Okay. Thank you.
Dunque, ammettiamo che noi facciamo un respiro senza diaframma, vuol dire che lo facciamo sul fiato. Mama, sì, mama, la vedo. Non è necessario il diaframma, perché vuol dire che questo canto è appoggiato unicamente la voce sul respiro, sul fiato. Ma quando io mi devo impegnare, allora è necessario, quando mi devo impegnare, è necessario trovare il diaframma.